Okay, good morning. 12.5.1.2. No, point 3. 12.5.1.3. So that's not we skipped point 2. So there are some release notes here. One thing that I'm happy about, I don't use these necessarily, but we did get some new features, new updated climate control. I don't know if this is going to be easier or better. It looks fine. I mean, they didn't change very much. They put everything on the bottom, I guess, versus kind of scattered around, which is probably a nice thing. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, they just have everything just subtly different. So I don't think there's any huge changes. Can still do those things. I wonder. Okay, so they still haven't added that. You can turn on your passenger air, which I use pretty often, but you can't turn it off, which is rather interesting. It's always been a weird thing, especially if somebody's actually sitting in the seat. It won't let you turn it off at all. So in this case, I can turn off, if I turn everything off, turn it back on. I don't know if everybody knows this, so I'm just going to show it. If I turn everything off and turn it back on, it'll default to this being off. Unless there's somebody sitting here. If there's somebody sitting here, it'll turn on automatically, and there's no way to turn it off. So, sorry for all the wives and girlfriends, but that complain about that, because mine does, and it is a little bit annoying that you can't do that. But for yourself, if you're just in the driver's seat and you do turn it on, which I turn it on, it seems to have a more direct airflow versus the driver's seat one, because the driver's one hits a bunch of stuff. So I like it on, but just know that you can turn it off if you want, if you're only in the driver's seat, but there's no way to turn it off on the passenger side if somebody's sitting there. So the other thing we got is parental controls, navigate to subdirections. I haven't really seen that yet in my drives. I'll try to test that out. Weather forecast, air quality, schedule, charge and precondition, and whatnot. So some security improvements, some other updates. Some of the games were updated. I do play this Vampire Survivor. I think it's a great game. Climate panel, when an the fan speed may now automatically lower to reduce sound from ambient noise during a phone call. That's always great. Better mileage estimation is good. So some small little things as far as that goes. So the big thing is we'll see if there's really anything. There's no notes on this, being that it's a 12.5.1.3 update, so a point of a point of a point. I don't expect very much. I took it on the way here, which had some highway, so that was my first test to see if the highway stack is merged. It is not. It was exactly the same. So I'm gonna try not to even bother getting on the highway for this drive. I have a couple drives, so we'll see how this one works. It will be very realistic. We're on assertive mode, as per, and we'll see how it all goes. I'm not expecting much, to tell you the truth. So we do have. Oh yeah, so that's pretty neat. So they switched. I don't think it could do this before. So this is kind of handy. So you have it's cloudy and 69 degrees. You have your high. So this is nice to have for sure. I was wondering why it wasn't included before. It would be neat if they did a full splash screen. That would be, interesting and maybe incorporated. But it's kind of an unnecessary thing. So I don't mind this. I like that we at least have the option now. It gives you your air quality and whatnot as well. So if there's any issues, so that's pretty handy. I like that they added that. I still have not gotten the lights, adaptive auto high beams adjust headlights for curves. I've tested this out on 12.5, 12.5.1, 12. All the way through ever since they added adaptive headlights, and it doesn't seem to do anything. So I turn it on, it's on. The auto high beams obviously are on, and that works just fine. But it doesn't seem to adjust anything for curves or anything like that. So if somebody knows more, or maybe I'm just not seeing it, maybe it's very subtle, and I'm not really noticing it, then let me know in the comments, because I personally haven't been able to see it at all. So we'll do a quick video. Okay, this is a pretty basic drive, so I do this all the time, so I should be very familiar with it. I'll let it take us from the parking lot, see if there's any changes whatsoever as far as that goes. I'll show you what it's doing up here, which makes it a little bit annoying from parking lots, because it's annoying to other drivers. Not to say it's not a good launch position what it does, but it definitely does some. That was quicker than it normally gets out from the parking lot, but it's kind of what it does in the parking lot. It's really based on what it sees. So here. So see how we go out on a. Yeah, no, it's not. If you just saw that, I know people are gonna comment on it, but the fact is, it should not have gone there. That car was too close. We shouldn't be in this lane. This is a turning lane, yeah. So, turning in the middle of an intersection. 2 fails right off the bat. So when I'm driving this one normally, I use that coming out of that parking lot as a good test. It just always seems to be a car coming that way, or fairly regularly. And this the 12.5 and up and 12.4.3 and below did not have the issue, but 12.5 and up, my goodness, does it really bolts out when it shouldn't. That was a car coming, it shouldn't have gone. There's no cars behind it, I wouldn't have gone. Unless you're in a crazy rush and being super aggressive, and in that case, if I would have done that, I would have accelerated more to try and get out of the way. So that's annoying. I'm hoping that they fix that, because it's one of the things that makes me feel a little bit unsafe on these new versions. The rest, there's some smoothness to it, and there's some really good improvements. There's no doubt about that. They definitely make improvements every time. But I cannot believe that they haven't. I'm in Oklahoma, and everybody's roads are slightly different in their configuration of their city and whatnot, which is fine. But that particular turn out of a parking lot, I don't think would differ very much from any city. So be it in California or Texas, wherever they're doing their in-house testing, I just cannot. I can't see that they're not seeing that problem, because for mine it happens quite regularly. And when I look on the comments of kind of the normal drivers like me, I have no business having early models of FSD at all. I don't know how it ended up that I get them early. I have no affiliation, no employee, no anything. First Tesla, got it this year. Only had it really for a few, but that's actually my mileage, a little bit more than that. I think I got 5,700. I do use FSD a lot, but I shouldn't have it early. So I'm just very surprised that it hasn't fixed some of these things. auto offset, there's nobody around. So this is one thing that people complain about all the time, which I do as well. But I've mentioned several times, it doesn't bug me as much because, I can hit the gas or the acceleration when it's slowing down like that. And it really doesn't bug me because it doesn't feel unsafe. I've heard a few people on like Facebook forums and stuff, some other people that get it early that really aren't the real testers. And they've kind of just they're not making videos, but they made some comments, on the same deal, right? Like, it jolted out or it goes too slow but the people that have the worst obviously are the people that in their neighborhood or whatever, for whatever reason it seems to go above the speed limit. So I did see a few people. I've never personally had that, where it's going 20 over the speed limit. The only time I've had that, and I've had it several times because the highway stack is not as good as it should be, and it's not as updated as the city driving stack. So I've had it where it missed the exit. It exited for me instead of staying on the highway. But what it did was put it into the service lane that's running parallel to the highway, and then it would try to keep the highway speed on this service road. And the service road's 50 and the highway 70. So that's the only time where I've had it actually, gunning it, basically. Feels like it's gunning it because it was going up to 70 on a service road. So, but few and far between. I don't have it on any residential roads, really driving around the city or whatnot. I haven't had any issues like that. I'm waiting for the day where I can read these signs. When it sees those signs, I can't wait till it starts getting over early, rather than doing this, right, which is just kind of driving till the lane ends. But that changing in the middle of the intersection, we'll see how people feel about that. I seem to get divided messages in the comments as far as following some of the rules of the road, but I do get what people are saying in some respects. In some respects, it's if it doesn't stage it properly, if it doesn't get into the next lane to start. So the auto offset it really does bug me. So you can see, we're going 7 under the speed limit on an empty road down a hill. It doesn't feel very natural to be going so slow. So I'll give it a little bit of acceleration. You guys can see, I'll bring it back up to 45. There's a red light here, so. But how fast it slows itself back down. So there's some comments before about, which is it? Is it too fast, too slow? And it's both, really. It works in both ways. So now we're in a 40, right? And now it's getting back up. Now it's up to 45, there's nothing wrong with this. This is incredibly comfortable and fine on this road. Everybody does that. But back there, which is the same road and 5 miles an hour faster, and it's going 37. So I don't know if the people that are making the comments don't have FSD or don't use it regularly, but I hope that you can imagine that if you're driving on a 40, if you're driving on a 45 in the car, in the same thing from one stoplight to the next, you're driving in a 45 and the car is going 37. Then you hit a 40 and the car starts going 45, that you might be like, there's no way to agree with that, because if you're the type of person that drives under the speed limit, then you're probably going to be fine going 37 and a 45, but you're not going to be fine going 45 and a 40, right? And if you're somebody that likes to drive over the speed limit, vice versa, you're not going to be very excited when it's going very slow, 37 and a 45. So that's probably why you're seeing complaints. And I had one comment that said, he's like, every YouTuber is complaining about this, the auto offset or being too slow or too fast. But really the deal is, more than anything, is that it's inconsistent, and the fact that it's inconsistent will bring it to everybody's attention, right? If it was stuck going very close to the speed limit, I don't think you'd hear a complaint. Even though there'd be a lot of people that want to drive faster than that, I don't think you'd hear anybody making any comment on it, because you would just assume that it's got to follow those rules and it's driving the speed limit. So anyways, yeah, that's a little rant or blurb on it, but it's really the inconsistencies are what bring it up and, you know, make you notice it while you're driving. Not so much that any one thing that it's doing is so crazy. I'm gonna record that and see if I park, I can go back to the going when it shouldn't have gone out of the parking lot. I don't do it, but for these drives, I mean, I do it a lot when I'm driving myself, but I will, even though it doesn't register a driving error as a mistake, obviously it's keep going, I'll click it out of FSD, and that prompts I don't have the testing. I see people have like something that they can press to flag scenarios or whatnot, or maybe that was the older betas, but if I click it out, most of the time it'll pop up, you know, autopilot or FSD disengaged, what happened. So you see us driving through this and going to the curb. So these are the interesting things. These are the half step back that I'm talking about that that I don't think get acknowledged in some other videos, and I don't know why. But on that particular, when they put in those white lines and that do not drive into this area, on 12.3.6, as I was coming up that hill, as soon as it saw those white lines, it was getting over immediately. And it didn't drive on them so far like this one just did, you know, almost till it saw the curb. It basically ignored the white lines, which is interesting. So yeah, nothing changed in 12.5.1.3 on that drive at all. I mean, it was exactly the same as 12.5 and definitely has its issues. So I'll do another one and we'll see how it goes, but it'll be a more complicated drive that'll give it a good test.